Amy K. Bell writes fiction and poetry. This is her first year in the MFA program. Her Code of Ethics was published in the Student Handbook of a U.S.-China joint venture engineering college. Interests include speculative and science fiction, histories of philosophies, and anytime East meets West. She was raised in Philadelphia, yo. Please welcome Amy.
Okay, so I'm going to read a couple poems and then a shorter piece of fiction. The first one is called The Mouth and the Girdle. While you are on your side, his hand moves from your breast down to your stomach. They grab onto your roll, weighing it. Then they move back up, and you sense that the hand prefers the two over the other, but you keep your eyes closed, because if you suck it into your spine, he would know that you aren't really so aggressive, that you questioned whether you should have crawled into his bed like you belonged. His eyes are on you. The air from an open window rushes over you and your skin offers goosebumps. You blink back at him, shutting out the air and his gaze, pretending you aren't seen, instead focusing on his lips, his rough cheek, his curls. You bite on his ribs here and arch your backs to give him your ribs there, and slowly the consent between you becomes a permission to feast. You wake up with a salty, raw tongue. Where is your shirt? Look at your breasts, exposed and loose at the edge of scruffy armpits. How long have we, and what time is it now? Slide as smooth as a girl this big can move. Look for panties among the dust balls as sexily as a girl this nervous can search. Clip it in the front, zip it up the back, tie it on the side, hoist it in your hands, pin it, pin it, pin it all back. I wrote that before I was married. Okay, and this is called Alien Prayer Flag. This is a poem in 6 parts that I wrote for Paul Hoover's long-form poetry class. He's been a great teacher. Okay, Alien Prayer Flag, 1. For those who have heard, I should say, this is dedicated to a friend of mine who died this year. 1. For those who have heard of a loved one gone, to visit that city on that drive that got them lost, visit here. The city has a name, but it's different for everyone. I pronounce it this way: Ning like Ning, that's easy. Bois like Bois, that presents a challenge. You may know it in another way entirely. The billion nameless, hungry faces, and one lonely, greasy girl steps forward. Stay here while I fetch you a drink of water. Make yourself comfortable. Drink it fast, the cup won't last long. Faster, I mean it. This is the city of the thinnest paper. Once there, she'll ask you to please try not to disrupt the ritual with your visible, drippy sobs. Eat any food that is offered to you, and you'll enjoy this. First contact. Congratulations, explorer. In this moment, you are a superhero. God grief, that's it. Serious, staid, and steadfast over all things human in the famed city. 2. A shortening, a quickening, hot throat, and all the missing vomits. The effect of speed on the inner ear and the return to stationary. These negotiations continue while flash is as small as starlight. This is what it feels like is stupid understandings. Torture, torture, torture. Blank plank, adrift upon furious, frothy action, then the risen smack of the real moment Y and real place X. God grief is lost in ning, ning, war, war, stretching his hamstrings like an oblivious runner. 3. My sister is too beautiful for most, her goat-herd tragedy spoken in smooth lines that dilate. I weep to hear her latest news. She walks around the blind city, a city of too many rabbit holes. This is the city of the most ways to get lost. She is my walking, talking, potential eternal sadness. The child whose smiley face egg, once broken, shatters me. The huddled woman whom God grief has sworn to protect. One glance into her eyes deletes the hero's mechanism and sends them tumbling down a taxi cab, flying in a light cascade. One glance spits them out into the river. Escape is a delicious apple, a moon dance gravitron world of limbs, wide, wide open to the free flow of the steamless sex. Drink to smoke to breathe to bathe, negating pent-up penibus pores. If all are lost along the way, that's fine. Grief visits beauty. The combination is deadly swollen, each offering the other's knife sharpener, metal running along stone. The city towers were never so high as tonight, each one wearing a different fascinator. 4. The crowd forms, a long line on the sidewalk. It must be something good for them to wait so long. Take a look through the shop windows. With the sun's glare. One girl in line erupts in laughter, throws her hand on the shoulder of the old man in front of her, and bounces, her bosom bounces. The old man chuckles at the girl heaving, at her breasts as they heave, at her buck teeth, at her breasts, at her buck teeth, at the reveal of skin above her pants, below her shirt, laughter belting out past her buck teeth and pouring from her forged chest. And now everyone's laughing. See, the sign on the door says, no more. This is the city of not enough. God Grief holds a Chinese churro, dipped in soy milk, barely tasting, sweet, empty flavor. Grief's luck is strange like that. 6. This is the last one. I held a shirt you wore. Oh no, sorry, this is 5. Okay, 5. I held a shirt you wore, and all the time you wore it. A brooch was pinned to it. I removed it and put it on me. It is a heavy ceramic bust. I've gone through your things so many times. Look at me, I jingle with your many cameos. I found a hideous shell you liked in your chest of things. Its spiky section hurt to hold. I'm starting to remember things about you that were less than friendly. Still, you. The dead flesh speaks in conjugated color. Yellow, yell-laugh, yell-out. God Grief lost his ride along the inner ring highway. Now he walks, carrying. 6. Urgency, emergence in the final tally. The march away from me. My last moment to haggle. I would die for you who is dying. I would live for you who is dying. I accept the quoted price. I'll look for firm confirmations later, when it's still and the market is closed. The dam bursts and floods a vein of odor. Mud coating all, the thinly coated citizens. They hug and scratch and even dance. My sister is gone. Beauty is again ready for anything. She lifts her new hand with a whir of pistons. God Grief mumbles about a sacred cleanup. Hopeless to the last transaction, he wanders the city of being more alone. Leaves the poem, leaves the poem, the city. And then just a piece of pretty short fiction. This is called Columbia River Crossing. You didn't ask for this story, and neither did I. A husband and wife were crossing over the Columbia River in central Washington on their way from Seattle to Coeur d'Alene for a wedding. Let's call him Jim and her Alice. They're driving in their car, a little Toyota dusted with pollen. They're bending their necks to admire the striated rock through the car's small closed windows, and the husband, Jim, who's made this drive across Washington before, suggests a rest at the Wild Horses Monument just up ahead. The wife, Alice, enjoys those occasions she hasn't anticipated and hops in her seat a little as she agrees. A lifetime in the sun has bleached the landscape icy and ultraviolet in the red dirt. The water of the river shines like glass, smooth and reflective. Up ahead, a gently sloping hill and golden grass. Along its high ridge, silhouettes of 15 horses, frozen in sheet metal, mid-gallop. Jim squeezes the car between 2 container trucks to exit the freeway and glides into the parking lot at the base of the hill. Alice slips on her sandals and gets out of the car quickly, standing up into a stretch that draws attention from a soft-faced, mustachioed man reclined inside his white truck. She prefers to wear less clothing while driving and puts her bare feet on everything. This landscape's prehistoric, she calls to Jim. who's still seated in the car, winding up audio cables. The sun warms their air-conditioned bodies, and they start walking towards the Golden Hill, where the 15 rusted Mustangs snort, gallop, and buck. The path up to the ridge is all screened with mineral dust. Jim privately laments the restriction and warmth of the nicer pair of pants he's wearing, while Alice looks for the best Swiss cheese rock to take home as a souvenir. There's nothing much on their minds except the dry heat and getting to the top, and when they get there, they take it in from all angles. They look at the line of motionless horses in motion. One horse leads the group gloriously, having darted a few paces ahead. Another is leaping, another standing. They read the graffiti that covers the horse's hide, stripping the illusion of life from the shapes. Alice tisks at the swastika someone has drawn, and she tries to capture an image of a feisty brain galloper by putting her point and shoot into a scraggly plant of twisted stalks, lens angled up to capture it with the blue of the sky. Jim raps his fist on one, and it makes a sound like a large bell. He tries to find a melody. The wife has breathed through her nose all this time, and the high noon sun is hot. While reading a particularly long message on the shank of one horse, Thomas P. loves his country. I'm going to basic in 3 days. Wish me luck, and God bless America, March 2009. You fainted, her husband says next. Honey, he says, and he strokes Alice's hair, fair hair from her round face. He admires her pink cheeks. She looks peaked, beautifully pale. Jim shivers and asks, can you make it back? And she nods and puts her hands and knees in the hot dirt. Then her sandaled feet find purchase, from all fours to standing on 2 legs. Her mouth is dry, and she has to knead her lips together to say, thank you. She is able enough, though, to snap a picture of him, checking his cell phone on their way back down to the car. In his fitted khakis and graphic t-shirt and neon athletic shoes, he could not have stood more apart from their scraggly, wind-worn surroundings. Honey, no, Jim protests. Stay right there, Alice begs. It's so funny. On flat ground again, before getting back into the car, Alice's eyes wander to a little stone turret where a family, a couple with 2 daughters, is exploring. The vista of the gorge and the river is expansive, and the mother is preparing a camera. Alice beckons to Jim, and they walk toward the turret. There might be a plaque, she says over her shoulder. She likes to take in this sort of information. The mother with the camera is a squat woman with muscular calves, wearing blunt hair and denim shorts. The father has his sunglasses on a necklace, and their 2 blonde daughters are thin as firemongers. They steady up to have their picture taken, with the gorge behind them. The mother snaps the shot, and Alice thinks, I can take one of them all together, why don't I suggest it? But she doesn't, because just then the daughter asks a question of her mother in that boisterous, breaking down way of an 8-year-old, to which her mother replies, yes, you may. She looks sad, Alice thinks, sad to have her family leave her behind the camera. At this point, Alice enters a different kind of stupor, a stupor of heated memories, and she's thinking very hard of her own mother, who died of a brain tumor, and how apart she must have felt from her own children and her husband, who never could really discipline them, though he was a stand-up guy. Alice comes back to the prehistoric landscape of the gorge and plains, thinking of the tired faces and mothers. Jim's hands are in his pockets. The family has started to walk away. No plaque, Jim says, looking to the bare concrete slab in its place of tilted prominence, where the commemoration should have been. That's too bad, Alice says. Vandals, he says with disappointment, kicking at a cluster of cigarette butts. They walk back to the car. The father of the family stands nearby, holding the camera up to the backs of his wife with her shapely calves and his twiggy daughters, the 3 of them walking arm in arm up the path, and the father, Paul, snapping their picture. Ah, Alice thinks contentedly, that does it, that completes